Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the monumental, honestly staggering literary universe of Rabindranath Tagore, famously known as Gurudev. I mean, how massive is his legacy? Think about this. He is literally the only person in history to write the national anthems for two different countries. That's just wild, right? So let's map out his incredible achievements and see exactly what made him such an unstoppable force in global literature and culture. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The Bard of Bengal. 2. The Magic of Gitanjali. 3. Novels of Rabindranath Tagore. 4. Short stories in stages. And 5. A monumental musical legacy. Section 1. 1. The Bard of Bengal. The global phenomenon. Okay, let's kick things off with a single number. 1913. It might just look like a date, but it actually represents a massive paradigm shift in world history. This was the year Tagore absolutely shattered global boundaries, becoming the very first Asian Nobel Laureate. But his life was so much more than just winning a single prize. Tagore's journey was this constant intersection of literary triumph and intense geopolitical realities. After winning the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913, he was actually knighted by the British government in 1915. But then, in a massive act of deep social conscience, he turned around and renounced that knighthood just 4 years later in 1919. He wasn't just sitting at a desk writing, he was building institutions, like famously founding Visva-Bharati University in Santiniketan in 1921. Because of this incredibly unique blend of creative genius, deep spirituality, and actual social action, he commanded immense global respect. People revered him. He was given titles like Gurudev, which honors him as a spiritual teacher, and the Bard of Bengal, recognizing his status as the absolute supreme poet of the Bengali language. Section 2. 2. The Magic of Gitanjali, the Poetry of Tagore. If you want to understand Tagore's poetic output, you have to look at its incredible longevity. We're talking about a continuous creative evolution spanning well over half a century. Starting with Manasi back in 1890, moving straight through the decades with works like Balaka in 1916, all the way to Shesher in 1941. It's a volume of work that just continuously grew and evolved right alongside the man himself. But if we're going to talk about his poetry, we absolutely have to single out one historic collection, Gitanjali, or Song Offerings, published in 1910. This collection is deeply spiritual yet profoundly human, and it's the undisputed masterwork that directly resulted in his 1913 Nobel Prize in Literature. This is the one that really brought his voice to the global stage. Section 3. 3. Novels of Rabindranath Tagore, masterpieces of long-form fiction. Now, while he won the Nobel for his poetry, we really can't overlook his long-form fiction. It is just as essential. He was tackling these incredibly complex social and emotional themes really early on, with novels like Chokher Bali in 1903 and Nokadubi, often translated as The Wreck, in 1906, and he kept up this immense productivity right through the late 1920s and 30s, with major works like Shesher Kobita, or The Last Poem, Jogajog, and Char Adhyay. Among all that brilliant long-form fiction, though, two monumental works consistently rise above the rest. Gora, from 1910, and Ghare-Baire, widely known in English as The Home and the World, published in 1916. Seriously, if you want to truly understand Tagore's mastery of the novel format, these two are absolute must-reads. They explore identity, society, and nationalism with a depth that is practically unmatched. Section 4. 4. Short stories and stages, plays, and tales. So, moving beyond novels, Tagore was also an absolute master of the short story format. He had this gift for writing tales that resonate so deeply with everyday human emotions. The sheer volume of his celebrated short fiction is amazing, including classics like The Postmaster, The Hungry Stones, The Homecoming, and Punishment. Yet even within that massive library of short fiction, Kabuliwala is the ultimate standout. If you're going to highlight just one masterpiece from his short stories, it has to be this one. It's an unforgettable tale that captures the very essence of his empathy, perfectly exploring that tender, universal bond between a father figure and a child. Pivoting over to the stage for a moment, his dramatic output was equally staggering. Over several decades, he authored some massive theatrical works. We're talking Valmiki Pratibha, Raja in 1910, Achalayatin in 1912, leading straight into later masterpieces like Raktakarabi, or Red Oleanders in 1924, right up to Shyama in 1939. But when it comes to his absolute crowning achievement for the stage, it's Ghar, or The Post Office, published in 1912, repeatedly cited as the cornerstone of his dramatic works. This piece is beautifully poignant, heavily philosophical, and it has genuinely touched audiences all over the world. Of course, he didn't just stick to fiction, poetry, and plays. His writing extended into some profoundly deep philosophical and non-fiction essays. Works like Sadhana, The Realization of Life, his critiques in nationalism, and his explorations in the religion of man and the spirit of Japan, they prove he was an intellectual giant who was analyzing the real world around him just as acutely as he was dreaming up new ones. Section 5. 5. A monumental musical legacy, Rabindra Sangeet. 2,000, actually over 2,000. That is the number of songs Tagore composed during his lifetime. Just pause and think about that for a second. Over 2,000 distinct pieces of music and lyrics. He essentially created an entirely unique musical tradition all on his own. And this huge volume of music built a legacy that is just entirely unmatched. Like I mentioned at the start of the explainer, Tagore holds this completely unique status in world history. He's the only person to ever compose the national anthems for two distinct sovereign nations. For India, he wrote Jana Gana Mana, and for Bangladesh, Amar Sonar Bangla. Beyond the anthems, his songs are still a source of massive personal and political inspiration today. Perhaps none more iconic than Ekla Chalo Re. It's such a prime example of Rabindra Sangeet. It's his powerful call to walk alone if no one answers your call. It perfectly encapsulates his spirit of fierce independence and moral courage. From the verses of Gitanjali to those sweeping novels like Gora and Ghare-Baire, the deeply touching story of Kabuliwala, the theatrical brilliance of Ghar, and the soaring melodies of over 2,000 songs, Rabindranath Tagore's creative universe is simply boundless. So the only question left for us is, which of Gurudev's masterpieces will you explore first? Let this explainer be your starting point and go discover his genius for yourself. Thanks for joining me today.